Hey, 7th grade, we had a pretty good Zoom this morning. I know it was a little chaotic. It kind of kept going in and out with the internet connection. Anyways, I'm going to read for you the assignment real quick again for what you have coming up. So you have an essay test that is due. You have to answer 2 of the bullet point questions. So there are 4 bullet point questions that are posted on the blog. You have to choose 2. Now, what you're doing, it's a minimum of 2-paragraph answer for each of the response bullet points. They're worth 20 points each, which is a total of 40 points for a test grade. MLA format, type, 12 font, double space, Times New Roman, 1-inch margins. Do not write in the first person. You know I hate it when you write in the first person. I will take off 1 billion points. Write in the third person. No me, no I, no our, no us, no I, no... No, none of that. Anyways. Grammar, spelling, kind of a big deal, you know. Should be a big deal. And that's what we got. Now, here are the questions. They're due on May 18th, which is next Tuesday by 4 p.m., and they are worth a test grade. Question number 1. You have all heard about Jim Crow laws from reading and language arts, To Kill a Mockingbird. And in 5th grade, you went on the Birmingham Civil Rights trip when you also watched the movie Four Little Girls. Some of the places where civil and Jim Crow laws were affected the most were in schools. You go to school. So, why would the government want schools to be places where segregation laws applied? How could schools further separate whites and blacks? And how would schools be a good place to reinforce segregation and segregationist ideas? And why would states want segregated schools? That is the question for bullet point 1. Bullet point number 2. Civil rights activists were trained in non-violent manners of protest, non-violent resistance. Explain in a few ways using examples in which people, both white and black, participated in non-violent resistance. How did they protest non-violently? What were some examples? Do we still see non-violent protesting today on certain issues? How so? Give an example if you can. And where have we seen nonviolent protesting recently in peaceful manners today? That's bullet point number 2. Bullet point number 3. Civil and human rights go far beyond the United States of America. These rights apply to the world. What do you think are the 3 most important human rights according to the Declaration of Human Rights document created in 1948? Why did you choose those 3 rights as your 3 most important rights? And explain in as much detail as you can what those rights are and why you feel like they're important to you. How does it impact your life and others? That's bullet point number 3. Bullet point number 4. Freak you out there. 2 and 2, 4. Sports have always been a place where barriers have been broken. Explain how athletes have had an impact on civil rights. You must use Jesse Owens, Tommie Smith, and John Carlos as examples in your answer explanation. 1968 Black Power salute, remember? Tommie Smith and John Carlos. You may use other athletes as well from the present day or from athletes that you know about in your own experience who have also protested against civil or protested for civil rights, fought for civil rights. Do you think that John Carlos and Tommie Smith should have made the statement they made during the Olympic Games? Should they have made a political statement? Also, do you think it was okay for them to make that statement during America's national anthem? Those are the questions that I want you to answer in bullet point number 4. Explain your answers in detail. That's what you've got for your 4 questions for the Civil and Human Rights document essay question. All the information is in the Civil and Human Rights document. So all you got to do is read through that. Now, shifting gears a smidge. In the doc, it starts off with a scene from the movie Hidden Figures, which is about black women in the NASA program who are breaking barriers, working for NASA, not just as women, but as African American women, literally breaking down the color barrier in a massive worldly event such as the creation of the space program for the United States, trying to defeat the Soviet Union, the Russians, from going to the moon. Now, here's the thing. The video that we put up there for you to watch is a scene where One of the employees of NASA, she cannot use the bathroom in the NASA building. And so she has to go almost a half a mile away to use the bathroom. When she comes back, she is confronted by her boss, and he says, "Where the hell do you go for all this time during the day?" And she doesn't hold back. She says, "There's no bathrooms for people like me." Meaning there are no colored bathrooms in the facility. The scene ends with Kevin Costner, who's the actor, the white man in charge of NASA at the time of that program, going in and taking down the colored restroom sign. But it's not the fact that he just took it down, but how he took it down as well, I want you to pay attention to in that scene. What you see in that scene is that there were really two Americas in the 1960s. As the nation as a whole was sending people into space, it was still a nation very heavily segregated and divided. And so some of the things that are in the document on civil and human rights are looking at the 30 basic human rights principles created after World War II by the United Nations in 1948. Another set, and there's two videos that show you each of the human rights that are specified in that document. There's the iconic image of Eleanor Roosevelt looking at the Declaration of Human Rights at the end of the video there somewhere. Now, I want you to think about human rights and what is a human right? Why do we have these rights? Why are some countries able to actually take some of these rights away or prevent everyone in their countries from having these rights? How can you punish a nation or punish a political individual or punish a people who violate other people's civil and human rights? It's a pretty hard question to answer. You're also going to come across how civil rights started out in the United States and where the idea of separate but equal, separate facilities for blacks and whites, and how even though African Americans were separated from whites, they still received equal treatment. We know that is not true, but it was legally what the government was trying to do during the time of the Civil Rights Movement, basically from 1896 and the creation of all those Jim Crow laws from 1896 all the way until the 1950s and 60s, when finally the federal government said, no more separate but equal, we must integrate. No more segregation, no more blacks here, whites here. We must bridge the gap. And it's interesting too, and the document ends with a very powerful movement in the 1968 Olympics with two Olympic sprinters who will completely challenge and change the way the world looked at the United States of America during the Olympic Games and during a civil rights movement. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you got a lot out of it. When you're reading through the document and watching the videos, make sure you're thinking about how this applies, and not only how it applied back then, but how does this information apply to today? Do we still see civil rights as a struggle for some people in this country? It's a question that the answer might surprise you. Have a great day and be good.